First contact with Joshua Put.
All right, Earthlings, how you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 to 9:30 a.m. live, and then catch me the rest of the time over at YouTube, firstcontactradio.com. Blast it out through Twitter, Facebook, all those places. So basically what I'm doing here every day is giving you a half hour of information of a whole lot of what's going on. There's a lot of things taking place in the world today that we need to know about. The mainstream news isn't letting us know. We need to be able to be more informed about what's going on. So therein lies the purpose. I guess you can think of this show as one huge red pill coming at you each and every morning. Now, today is the beginning of a new month, the month of November, November 1st, 2017 on the Gregorian calendar. Well, on the Jewish calendar, we are at the 12th day of Sheshvan. Taking a look at the energy around us. Astrologically, we have our sun sign, which represents our conscious mind, is still in Scorpio. It's 9 degrees into Scorpio. It's got 30 total to go, so it has 21 more degrees to go. Each one of these moves about a day at a time, so it's going to be progressing slowly. So our conscious mind, the things we think about, are being affected by the Scorpio energy. Scorpio is emotions, real deep down buried emotions that have to be dealt with. And when they're dealt with, at times, because they've been buried so deep, they feel very much like the death-like process, but they're very transformative when they occur. And our moon sign, which is our unconscious mind, it moves a lot quicker right now. We're in Aries. Aries is all about leadership, taking charge, moving forward, putting things in order. So our unconscious mind is wanting to do all of those things. Put things in a nice, orderly way so we can understand them a lot better. Okay, just a quick look, a reminder here. Scorpio, this would be the tarot card of death. All about the transformations that we go through as we are moving through life. And of course, Aries, he who sets an order, which is what this is all about. Okay, as we deal with the energies of life coming at us each and every day, we need to put them in order. We need to prioritize them. We need to help understand a little bit more of the process that's taking place, which brings me right into the next phase. We've had so many things happening these last couple weeks that keeping up with them is really challenging. Made a list here, just a few things. The Awan brothers. We've got the whole Hillary Russia scandal, which is unfolding. We have the Mueller corruption that he's personally involved with. Then we have the investigation that he's doing, which how is that being affected by this? We have the Las Vegas shooting. We've got all of the Hollywood and the pedophilia that's going on. We have the human trafficking issue that's being dealt with. The JFK files, it's only been a week, less than a week, since those have come out. Lots of information in there, but one thing that is for certain through all of this is the mainstream media has drawn a line in the sand on showing how they are not going to really be for the American people. Okay? Continuing to lie, continuing to mislead, continuing to think people aren't smart enough to think for themselves, and hoping that people don't look further than what they're being told. Many of the mainstream news stations, for example, are just leading people to believe that the Kennedy files just confirmed what we already know. It was a lone gunman and there's no need to look further. And they bank on the fact that most people aren't even going to look at the files. But when you find the files and you read through them, you find out that that's not what they say. Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy. There was much more involved. LBJ was involved. Many other factions. Things that were confirmed were the conspiracy theories that we understood had happened. First and foremost, that there were multiple shooters. Secondly, about Harvey Oswald. And then we start to get into some of the other connections that we've learned about, and those things are covered up because we know that they're real. The government is not going to let them out. So we get confirmations one way or the other. The point of all of this is we're getting so much information coming our way. We need, as a society, to be quicker. We need to be able to decipher this information quicker. We don't have time to process it so slowly as we've done in the past because too much is happening on such a short-term basis. So let's take a look at some things that are important that are being hidden from us. This is a site, opensecrets.org. You can see here it's archived, so it's going to the archive site in case they get cute and decide to take this away. But this has a listing of the Podesta Group, and this lists money that went from the Podesta Group out to various personalities, politicians, and so on. And if you scroll down this list, you see some names on here that really aren't too surprising. But you do see a name that is very surprising, Jason Chavetz. Okay, so for all of his talk, click here to see all recipients, and you'll see John McCain's on the list, no surprise there. But Jason Chavetz, and now that we understand this, it kind of gives a little credence on maybe why he backed away in the way he did, because he has dirt on him apparently. Certainly one of the things is the connection to the Podesta Group, and the Podesta Group has connections to Soros. So basically, if he took money from the Podestas, he's taken money from Hillary and Soros. Okay, the story that has been unfolding in regards to the connections with Papadopoulos to Papadopoulos is one of the names that was associated with this whole indictment that went on with Manafort. So we have the name Papadopoulos. And when you look to see about Papadopoulos, who his connections are, there is a gentleman here who is a professor, and he is named in there. His name is Joseph Mifsud. He said he was insisted that he was just an academic who had absolutely no contact with the Russian government. Any suggestion he had offered to play matchmaking between future President of the United States and the power players of the Kremlin, he maintained was decisively incredible. Okay, so this man right here, he is the man that is claimed by Papadopoulos to have given him information. This guy say no, he didn't do that. But let's look deeper at this man's connections because we start to find something very interesting. This is the website European Council on Foreign Relations. Okay, if we scroll down here to Malta, we find him right there, Joseph Mifsud, Director, London Academy of Diplomacy, Professor at University of Stirling, same guy. We scroll up a little bit and we go look at Hungary. Where's it at? Wait a minute here, wait a minute. I just passed it. Okay, if we go over to here, we have George Soros and his son Alexander Soros. So we have a connection between Soros and Mifsud. And Mifsud is connected to Papadopoulos, and Papadopoulos is connected to Manafort, and Manafort is the one who was indicted in the midst of all of this. So if we just connect the dots, we see that Manafort has a connection to Soros, and that connection was working its way into the campaign, into Donald Trump's affairs. So very important that we understand this because it is it's happening right in front of us. You know, the President Trump, he is surrounded by a lot of those who are trying to deceive him. I do believe he is protected. I do believe that he is very insulated in what he is doing. If you just pay attention, I do believe that there are some very positive things taking place in the draining of the swamp, and because he is being so successful at doing so, I believe there's a lot of swamp creatures raising their ugly head, perhaps trying to have some sort of takeover. So we just need to continue to send prayers and positivity to our president because he is fighting on the benefit of the American people. Okay? All people, not just one type of person or one political party, but all political parties and all of the people. He's the president of this country, and if you just watch and listen, you find out that he takes his job very serious. He wants to make sure that we are all safe, sound, and protected. Now, let's switch gears to a topic that is very important to us at this point in time. It's certainly running the news cycle and is the event that took place yesterday in New York. And I'm going to give you some examples here that are very important on how we are being lied to. You see, the story is that this man got out of the car and the truck that he was in, and he was waving those guns and he was yelling, Allahu Akbar. And the media wants to interpret that in one way, but they're not giving the proper interpretation of it. Not only are they not giving the proper interpretation, but they're not even using the same phrase that was used. So if the intent is to try to warn somebody that if you hear somebody say this to protect yourself, they're not even doing that because you're giving you a whole nother language which is different than what is being said. So whose side are they on? Whose side are they on? What does Allah Akbar mean? What is the English translation of the phrase used in Muslim prayers? Call is probably the most famous Arabic mantra in the world, so here are the facts about what it means. Allah Akbar is an Arabic phrase well known throughout the world. The literal translation of the phrase is God is greater. Known as the takbar, it has been used in traditional Muslim prayers for centuries and is used as a peaceful reminder of their religious commitment. They are the opening words of the Adhan, the Islamic call to prayer, and is often used in approval the same way Christians say Amen. Arabic-speaking Christians are also known to use the phrase as an expression of their faith. The number of Muslim countries features the phrase of their national flags, including Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan. The phrase is not found in the Quran. The phrase was allegedly first used by the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century. Muhammad is said to have used it as a rally cry before the Battle of Badr in what is now modern-day Saudi Arabia. In the context, the word would mean God is greater than the enemy. The battle was a decisive victory for the Muslims over the Meccans and is recorded in the biographies of Muhammad and the Hadiths. Why is it shouted by terrorists? The ancient Islamic phrase has been co-opted by jihadi extremists, much to the distress of modern Muslims. Allahu Akbar became the call of choice for Islamic terrorists following the 9/11 attacks after it was found that 4 people page document in the luggage of suspected ringleader Muhammad Atta. The document contained the passage, shout Allah Akbar because it strikes fear in the hearts of non-believers. It has also been used by the killers of Lee Rigby, and witnesses reported the Paris Octavian attackers also yelling the phrase. Okay, so very, very interesting. If you were to do a study and you were to take the writing in which this Allah Akbar is written and you were to do some comparisons, I believe that 666 kind of translates into the way in which it is written in Arabic. So 666 could be relating directly to Allah. And when you get into the idea of them saying God is greater, that's what they're saying. Allah is greater when they're saying this. Allah is greater. Greater than what? Greater than the enemy? Or Allah is greater than your God? And that's what they seem to be saying. Now, if we were to compare that to our society, let's say race, if one race was to say our race is better than your race, we would think of that as some sort of bigoted, racist response. Well, here we have our God is greater than your God, and they're going out and they're actually harming others with that ideology. That's the problem. Okay, let's look further at this word here. Akbar means great. This is what the media is trying to tell you. In fact, Akbar is translated to greater, not great. Okay, it says Al-Akbar has been used historically by Muslims as a battle cry during war. Okay, a battle cry during war. So we're getting right in front of our face. This is a war battle cry. They're going in and they're using the battle cry before they create harm, before they take the battle to the people. And the people are still trying to say, geez, we don't have any motive. The motives are unclear. We don't understand what they were saying. God is great. Well, no. They're saying that their God is greater. They're using this phrase because it strikes fear into the hearts of people who hear it. Why? Because this is a battle cry. It's not a cry of peaceful Muslims. It's a battle cry that they're ready to kick your ass. And so here we have the media, which is downplaying it. So if somebody were to hear them scream this battle cry, they're not being told that this is a thing that they need to be concerned with and maybe run away from. They're being told that it's some other language. Scott is great. So that's not what they're yelling. So they're not even attempting to protect people. You know the sad reality in all this? The media who is lying to people are going to be the ones one day that are going to sadly report how one of their family members were unfortunately killed by the very people that they lied weren't dangerous. It's unfortunate, but that always seems to be the way, that people don't actually open their eyes until tragedy sometimes hits in their lives. And the way that the mainstream media is going, they're bringing it upon themselves because they're creating a situation where they're not looking out to protect anybody other than themselves. They're selling people out left and right. Now, if we were to fully grasp the meaning of Project Mockingbird and understand that the JFK documents confirmed this was taking place, that the CIA has been for many, many years embedded within our media, we would understand that the media is telling us a story. It's not necessarily the true story. It's a story. When you watch the news, when you watch the mainstream news channels, and I think people should watch the mainstream news channels to get a point of reference of what they're saying. You don't have to spend all day, but you can get a grasp from one of their shows because once you do, they repeat the same thing over and over and over. It's a formula. You repeat it over and over till it gets in a person's head. So if you would just watch and get the little crumbs of information that they're leaving, we'd understand a whole lot more about what's really taking place and how the media is, you know, not really telling us the truth and maybe what their agendas are. Here we have an article, Washington Times, refugee crisis is jihad by another name. Immediately following the Islamic terror attacks in Paris that killed and wounded hundreds of people, French President Francis Hollande rightly declared them acts of war deserving a merciless response. The latest act of violent jihad, however, stems directly from another form of jihad, one that has been underway in Europe for decades but has ramped up drastically over the past year. It's called Hijra. Hijra is the core of the jihad going back to the Prophet Muhammad that involves Islamic conquest through migration. The objective is to overwhelm non-Muslim territories with Muslim populations until they achieve domination through sheer numbers. No weapons necessary until they gain enough control. At least one of the Paris jihadis originated in Syria and registered as a refugee through Greece. This is less a refugee crisis than more of an occupation. Several weeks ago, he traveled through Central. Okay, so we're hearing this more and more from people who are paying attention, and we kind of deserve what we get when we're not really understanding. Here's a site you probably should be aware of called the Clarion Project. This project talks all about what's going on with the extremism of radical Islam. They're asking New York terrorist lone wolf or not. Maybe he was by himself in this instance, but he was doing so on behalf of ISIS, which he was not alone then, and this was just part of a bigger plot. So if you go through here, you could see, 20 years of reblogging ISIS threat, all kind of good information that is helpful to know. Now, the big problem that we have here is the Muslim Brotherhood has been working to infiltrate America for about 30 years, really short of that, about 27 years by now. This article here is 30-year Muslim plan has 6 years to go. This is from 2014. So it's 2017, 3 years down the road. That means we've got 3 more years to go. 28 years, 25 years ago, 27 years ago, Muslim Brotherhood spiritual leader Yusuf al-Qaradi traveled to America, unpacked his plan for a Muslim takeover that would begin 1 year later and take 30 years to complete. It's included a key component and tactic known as Morana. Like the Ebola virus, it's extremely effective at carrying out its deadly mission. Since discovering a shocking photo earlier this year that showed al-Qawardi at the Dar al-Hira Mosque in Falls Church, Virginia, with then mosque chairman Bassam Estwani, a third figure in the photo has been overlooked until now. Shobat.com has determined that the man sitting between al-Qawardi and Estwani in Shakar al-Assad, the current imam at Dar al-Hijr and former Secretary General of the Muslim American Side, a Muslim Brotherhood front group. Dar al-Hijr was opened in 1991 and MAS was founded in 92, 7 years before the al-Qawardi was banned from the U.S. in 1999. Al-Assad did not become an imam at Haraj until 2005, yet somehow was able to have a great seat at the table with al-Qawardi inside al-Jarraj 8 years before becoming a leader with MAS. Okay, you can see there's a bunch here. I'm going to leave that for you to read. The point being, 27 years ago, we're going back to 1990, this plan was put into effect to take over America, a plan that would take 30 years, that they would complete by the year 2020. As we saw the last 8 years of Obama's presidency, we saw that he did a lot of things to open the door for these Muslim extremists to come to America. The gentleman, or the terrorist who created the problem yesterday, came in through one of the visa programs, a diversity visa program that was put forth, I believe, by Chuck Schumer, had a lot to do with this. So the very people who are hurting Americans were allowed in by the very Democrats who have no interest in wanting to help America. So we're now at the point where we've had 27 years since 1990 of Muslim extremists slowly embedding themselves in our society. 27 years. Over all of this time, they've been gaining more steam, gaining more weapons, gaining more converts. As Obama allowed more to come in, they were able to get a bigger hold, and now we're seeing events taking place like these attacks that we saw yesterday. Because there's probably lots of these little groups and lots of individuals like this that have been embedding themselves for such a long period of time. Had Hillary Clinton gotten into the presidency, she would have continued on with that agenda, and by 2020, this Muslim Brotherhood plan may have been complete, and America would not be America, but would be a Muslim nation subject to Sharia law. Thank God for Donald Trump, because that would not be very acceptable here in America. It would not sit well with many of the Americans in the way in which we live. The ideologies that they have in Islam are completely different than the ideologies here in America. And to try to put those groups together doesn't always work. You have too many radicals that want to take things to extremes like they're doing, and that's why we have the problems that we have. So we've got a real problem because they are here. The Muslim Brotherhood is here. They've been here. Here's another article. This is from June. The Muslim Brotherhood's plan to take over America. The Muslim Brotherhood's strategic 30-year plan for taking over America from within was a closely guarded secret until the FBI raided the house of Annandale, Virginia, where agents found a disturbing bundle of documents containing a blueprint for the Muslim takeover of our country. Now that the cat is out of the bag, we must do everything in our power to expose what is going on. As startlingly, these American-hating vermin are in the final phase of their 5-step plan to destroy the country. Okay, and it goes through here, and here is some of the things. Well, it is their general overall plan. The document that was seized in the raid reveals a chilling insight to their operations, mindset, planning, and vision of the Islamic movement rapidly taking over North America via shariathreat.org. All right, here's a bullet point list. Expanding the Muslim presence by birth rate, immigration, and refusal to assimilate. Birth rate means they're going to come here and they want to rape our women so that they have babies by them. Second, occupying, expanding domination of the physical spaces. Okay, no-go zones. Ensuring Muslim community knows and follows Muslim Brotherhood doctrine. Controlling the language we use in describing the enemy. Ensuring we do not study their doctrine. Co-opting key leadership. Forcing compliance with Sharia at local levels. Fighting all counterterrorism efforts. Subverting religious organizations. Employing lawfare, the offensive use of lawsuits and threats of lawsuits. Claiming victimization and demanding accommodations. Condemning slander against Islam. Subverting the U.S. education system, in particular infiltrating and dominating U.S. Middle East studies programs. Demanding the right to study, to practice Sharia in segregated Muslim enclaves. Demanding recognition of Sharia in non-Muslim spheres. Confronting and denouncing Western society, laws, and traditions, demanding that Sharia replace Western law. Note that many of these foregoing techniques entail in one way or another influencing and neutralizing the American government at all levels. Part of their plan involves going into the school systems and teaching the children how to think differently. For 8 years, when the time President Obama was in office, that gave a child an opportunity or a time to go through freshman, sophomore, junior, senior of high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior of college, to go in there and get the mindset that was presented to them by the Muslim Brotherhood teachers or the Muslim teachers or ideologists or the Bill Maher's, those who hated America. For 8 years, students went to school. This is why the college kids are coming out so screwed up, because they've been taught. How many millions of kids went to school for those 8 years? The formative years of their learning from freshman high school through college senior. Taught an ideology of hating America. Problematic. Here's another one, the Muslim Brotherhood plan to take over the West. Another good one, hammering home the same points. All right, finally, let's just wrap things up here. So we fix things through turning to spiritual, turning towards God. Here's one, Mark 12:28 through 31, the greatest commandment. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked them, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There's no commandment greater than these. Okay, these are very important words. Okay, very important words, because it helps us to understand what it is that we must do through these times. We want to love everyone. Okay, even though there are enemies out there that want to destroy us, we still want to send love to those enemies,
90 seconds.
because that love does act in many ways as a way to defeat the enemies, because if they don't accept the love, it's going to affect them. We don't want to be thrown off and get into evil-minded or distracted ways just because that's what the crowd is doing. We have a teacher that came, Jesus Christ. The Christ light that shines through each one of us allows us the opportunity to move past these problems, to shine a light in the darkness so that
60
the
seconds.
darkness becomes exposed and then becomes expelled. The Antichrist ideology of Islam is anti-Christ. That's against Christ. They don't believe in him. We need to believe in the Christ energy, because that is the saving power. It is what they are against, because they are so afraid of the power of the Christ light. So I pray this day, my friends, and let us just pray, Heavenly Father and Mother, allow us this day to be examples of your Christ light here upon this earth, that we might positively influence each and every one, so that we learn to do the right thing more and more each and every day. Amen. My friends, we are the ones we've been waiting for. I know I keep saying that like it's the latest key phrase,
10 seconds.
but we are. All we have to do is stand up and believe in ourselves. Stand up and believe in ourselves. That's it. I love you. Keep loving each other. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.